Hey, good evening, everybody. Lumberjack Landlord here. Excited to be here with you this evening. Lots of fun stuff to cover tonight, as promised in the subject line: real estate crash facts and rumors. Because you get a lot of people from both sides talking out of both sides of their mouths, saying this is what's happening, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. Yeah, you know what I like to do? I actually like to talk from experience and what I'm actually seeing in the world today and what's actually happening and going on. So here's what's actually happening and going on. We started, as you guys know, so I'm Lumberjack Landlord, for those of you who don't know, 53 buildings, 150 some odd units. And so here's what we're actually seeing in the market, because that's what matters. So what we're actually seeing in the market is that typically our busy season is essentially June, July, and August. That's when our biggest number of tenants are going to be moving out or moving in. That's the biggest number. We saw a lot of renewals in June. So we didn't really have all that many units hit the market. And then July happened and we started getting a lot of people giving notice. Now, part of that was people that were living in nice places that wanted to upgrade into even nicer places. But the even nicer places, the reason they were able to upgrade was because they were doing a $99 move-in special. They were doing 2 free months of rent. You sign a 14-month lease and you get 2 free months of rent. And these places were about 30% more expensive. But the idea was right away, you're not having to get $2,700, $2,800 to move in. It's a $99 move-in. Then you're not having to pay $2,700 or $2,800 a month worth of rent. Again, you get 2 free months of rent. And so when you average it, it ends up being still slightly more expensive than us, probably about 10 or 15% more expensive, but it's no longer 30 or 40% more expensive. So as we're kind of going through it, what we saw our people typically with higher credit scores that lived in nice places but wanted to upgrade to even nicer places. You know, we saw those because apparently the budget didn't matter anymore because they dropped the price so much in these A-class properties that they could then make that move into these units. So we lost, I don't know, call it 4 or 5 tenants. And I always share with you not just the percentages, but the numbers, because percentages do matter. Whereas that's, that ends up being about 3.5% or so of our entire portfolio. 3.5% doesn't necessarily give you an understanding of how much work it is on our part. A lot of people think, 3.5%, that's not that much. It's because they haven't really done the math and they don't really know that it is kind of that much. Now, generally, grand scheme of things, no, it's not that much because, again, from our perspective, you've got, 5 units or so of people that leave. They were good tenants. They were good paying tenants. They had good credit. They were easy tenants to manage. That said, of those 5, I'd say probably 3 of them were that, and 2 of them were just complete dumpster fires that, quite frankly, I would have helped pack them myself. So what we're seeing now, and what I think we're going to continue to see, is so we went from 3 available units, and when you're talking about a 153 unit portfolio, typically you're not going to run fully rented all the time. You're just not. So typically your market is going to say, your vacancy rate's going to be 4 or 5%. Well, 4 or 5%, we'll call it 5% of, 153 units. You're talking about 7.5 units. It's a, 7.5 or 7 or 8 of your units are basically going to be vacant all the time. Now, just to be clear, New Hampshire is one of the best in the country as far as vacancy rate, typically around 1 to 2%. We even got in some points below 1%. Now, we reflected that. We were largely speaking, we were about 1% vacant. And so, we've enjoyed being, pretty well stocked up with tenants. And we've enjoyed that for quite some time. So we recognize the market shifting. We recognize that these other vendors that are entering the market and other supply that they're bringing on, that they're just taking warm bodies. We know that because we know what these people's credit scores are. We know what their debt to income ratios are. We know what their jobs are. We know what they can actually afford. The bad news is they really can't afford these places. So we're going to see some of these people certainly wash out, but we're going to see other of these people not wash out, and that's fine. But that washout rate's going to be high. They are absolutely what's called buying the business. And when you buy the business, buying the business is very, very, very expensive. So the challenge that you have in buying the business is that you're going to see a much higher number of eviction rate. It's just the way it goes. It's too bad, so sad. So what we see, so we went from, 2 or 3 vacant units, which is typically where we're going to run at, because we're running like right around that 1%. So we're typically going to be around that 1%. So you're typically talking about, about 2 units, 1 to 2 units you're going to have vacant. But this is our heavy season, because in New Hampshire, you have 4 seasons, but you have one beautiful season that's about 5 months long where everybody wants to move in that time, but they don't want to move right in the middle of summertime. So typically July and August, they like to give notice in July that they're leaving at the end of August, and then they move in for September and basically battening down the hatches for wintertime. So what we're seeing right now is we saw it go from our typical 2 to, about 5, and that's understandable, because we know that our higher transitions now. So then we saw it go to 7, then we saw it go to 9, then we saw it go to 11. Kid you not, 11 units. And I'm like, okay, I'm paying attention. What is going on right now? This is not good. And so we start looking into it. And what was really funny was, in looking into it, it was like we saw a lot of our inherited tenants that we've had for years and years and years, that were in the building, that we hadn't raised their rent. Guess what? They were starting to leave. And that was fine, because they were starting to take advantage of this new supply for these really nice, new, beautiful units. And they were able to move. And we did the right thing by not raising their rents. And guess what happened? You can't improve the property. You can't make it a whole lot better. You can't make it absolutely stupendously fantastic. Hey guys, one quick second. I'm just going to go off camera for just a quick second. I have somebody that I have to answer, and I will be right back. I know this is so good, right? Sorry about that, folks. So I'm hearing noise, and I'm like, what is that noise? Sounds like somebody's trying to get in. Sure enough, a little bit of wind outside. One of my kids left the door open to outside. What else is new? So as we start to look at what the construct of this is, now we're at 11 vacant units, and I'm looking at it and going, okay, this is kind of a problem. 11's a lot. We're at like 8%, 7%, 8% of vacancy, which is awful. We never see that number. But it was just kind of like perfect storm. So it was a bunch of people that were kind of ready to move. But this is why we always tell you, use the binder method from Dion Talk Financial Freedom to make sure that you're raising rents consistently, because then you can't improve the building. Then what ends up happening? These good tenants that don't complain because they're not paying any real money for the unit, because we kept their units a lot the same from when they were there, because we don't like raising people's rents when we inherit them, certainly right away anyway. So now we're in a position where units that we haven't been able to improve, units, because we're not stupid, we don't make stupid financial decisions. We haven't improved these units, but this because largely these people have been in it. So now they finally have the opportunity to get into a really nice unit. They're going to get 2 free months. They're going to get $99. And you might say, well, Matt, how can that really affect that market? How can one person affect the market? Well, I mean, it was about 200 or 300 units. So it was a lot of units. I mean, it essentially increased, about, it was about 10% of the market, thereabouts. That's how many units were added. So as we look at it, we see all of these units that are basically added to the situation, and all of these people finally leaving. Now, granted, number of them, we were happy that they left. We were glad that they're gone. So here is the opportunity. Scary, yes, for certainly, I mean, not really scary for us, but scary generally speaking, right? If anybody was all of a sudden like, holy cow, I've got this many vacant units, yeah, it might be a little bit scary because what you're staring down the barrel of is you're staring down the barrel of probably $25,000 a month, $25,000 a month of income that's not coming in anymore. So the good news is that we've got reserves. The better news is that we're okay, even with, with this humongous number of vacancies. And, we're just kind of watching the market and understanding what happens. So, what ends up happening then is what you really have to do is you have to dig down. You have to dig deep into the numbers, understand the numbers, understand each situation. Is there something consistent there? So we asked, there was a lot of consistency there. It was weird. There was a consistency there with some of them. We knew that they were moving to some of these brand new buildings, but the other stuff that we saw was just kind of anomaly, right? It was boyfriends and girlfriends breaking up. It was, and neither one could afford the place on their own. It was roommates breaking up. We saw one place has 3 roommates, basically 2 jetted. And the other guy was like, well, I really want to stay. And I was like, well, this is what the cost is. You probably should find another roommate. And so we're working with them so they can find another roommate, but they're still paying full rent. Then, we see and so we saw the boyfriend girlfriend thing. We saw the roommate thing. And so what's more interesting is, okay, that's on the breakup side. That's on the, leases or units coming available side. What's more interesting is that we're not seeing really much traffic at all on the rental side. We're just not seeing much traffic. The people that we're saying are the same regurgitated garbage, bad credit score, bad income, no understanding of reality, and how much money you need to make to live in a place. They just apply because that's what they do. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing a pretty big slew of bad tenants. So I dive in, and that's what my findings are. I'm looking at all the different people that are inquiring. I'm looking at the number of inquiries, and I'm tracking that and seeing how the inquiries are going. Then I'm looking at the quality of those tenants, credit score wise and things like that. And then the amount of baggage that they carry with them. Is it baggage of the queen or is it baggage of Hyder? Hyder the nomad. We're always always seeing just a backpack is good. So I go through that exercise. And, what I basically find is, okay, all right. So we're seeing, I won't say, we're seeing 300% the number of people leave. It's not really true. We have a lot more vacancies than we usually have. What we did was we started looking rent box. The rent box solved some problems for us because what we saw in the units that we saw go vacant, in the 11, we saw the good news is that 7 of them were under market. 7 of them are under market and 4 of them were over market. And some were marginally under market, but so 7 of them under market, 4 of them over market. So we make the adjustments in the rents, and big surprise, we see a massive pickup in the number of people looking at the units. In fact, what we actually saw was one unit. What we saw was one unit rent out very quickly. Actually rented yesterday. We saw another unit that went under contract, under lease. We're just working out the details with the tenant because they're a little bit needy. And that's fine. But the list that this woman had was aggressive. It's aggressive. But again, she's a quality tenant. She has a good credit score. She has good income. So from that perspective, we expect that she'll be there for a few years. So we're willing to make some adjustments. And so basically what we're looking at is certainly some softness in the rental market. We're certainly looking at softness of tenants. A landlord that does their own qualifications knows better than anybody else in the area exactly how much people are hurting in that area. I can tell you, people are financial idiots. I'm seeing debt to income ratios that are obnoxiously absurd. I'm seeing the stuff. I'm astonished at the financial practices of these people. And it's no wonder that they're renters. So what I would tell you in your market, you should be doing a rent box. You need to be consulting that rent box very often and understanding what's coming on the market. You need to understand if you are close to price in some of these other assets, you need to understand what they're offering. Look them up. Look up the big guys. See what they're offering. See what move-in specials they're offering. I'm not saying that you run to start doing move-in specials. All I'm saying is you need to know that it's out there. So we've seen a higher number of delinquencies. We normally have 1 or 2 people that are slow pay, and right now I think we've got 5 or 6. So what I would tell you is, what I tell you the answer is, 10% of our portfolios in trouble. I won't get you guys with that clickbait, but 10% of our portfolios in flux, and normally it's more like 3%, 2 to 3%. So it's triple what we're used to. The good news is that you can always fix it. I've been much more active this week in getting in, looking at the numbers, looking at the assets. Okay, what do we need to do to upgrade this unit? New coat of paint, etc. Sorry, guys, 1 second. I think that door's still, I don't think I closed it all the way. 1 second. Whew, had to give that door the old heave ho. Now it's good. I see why the kids couldn't be able to shut it. I think it swelled. It swelled from the lovely summer. So again, what I would tell you is be watching your rent box. Make sure that you're staying on top of your rental leases. A couple of these, honestly, guys, they're my fault. I got so unbelievably busy that I didn't get renewal leases out to folks, and people just are like, "Oh, then I guess we should just move." So two of these problems are 100% on me. I didn't get the leases out in time. That was 100% on my, yes, it is. That's the lumpy chair. So 100%, 2 of these are on me. Now the good news. So we were at 11 as of this morning. We've got 1 signed, 2 out. So I think we're going to go from 11 to 8. And I think that's going to happen pretty quickly. And then we have a number of interested parties coming to open houses this weekend. So what did I do? I adjusted some of the prices. I got contractors into these units to either give them a new paint or add some amenity. Like one of them, we added a washer dryer to. But we didn't sit still. I'm an active manager, an active operator in the business. This is what makes me elite, is that I can jump in. I can see exactly what's going on, figure out from a bunch of the data that we're being presented, and start to make moves. So the good news is that just in 3 or 4 days, because I was gone last week, as you guys know, had a blast. Thanks for bearing with me and not having a show. I appreciate you. But in putting all of this stuff together, okay, we got up to 11. Now we're going to drop down to about 8. What I think is really cool about dropping down to the 8 is that we've got 4 units that we've never brought to market before. So these had inherited tenants in them. We never brought them to market. So now finally doing some work in there to bring them to market. I don't love that I'm doing that, but at the same time too, it is what it is. It gets 4 more off the list of they've never been touched by us before to now they at least have some sort of like a lumberjack package, and they're ready to go on market. So stay tuned. I'll be keeping you guys up to date because like I said, I share the truth with you. We were at 11. That 11 number's big, and could it go to 13 or 15? It could have. Hopefully we'll get these other ones wrapped up tonight and tomorrow. If we can wrap up tonight and tomorrow, then boom, we're down to 8. And then, barring any more, and then we start to slow down our renewal cycle. There's some that come due at the end of September, but not a lot. So what I do like is I actually really like kind of generally kind of where we are. as far as like in the year, because the end of that cycle is almost near. We had a couple of deals that just honestly didn't work out. We had tenants that moved in, and we had this one tenant. Oh my goodness. We had this one tenant that moved in. They had two big dogs. The two big dogs, they are professional shedders. And so every single time we showed the unit on the other side of the duplex, guess what happened? They'd walk out in the backyard. It was fur everywhere. Fur everywhere. So I've been dealing with this problem for 2 weeks now, and they can't pick up the fur fast enough. They can't keep it up fast enough to get to have us be able to do showings on the regular basis. So the good news was we were seeing traffic on the unit, but we were not getting it rented because they just couldn't deal with all the pet fur in the back. So the good news is, I called the tenant and I'm like, hey, we'd love to move you over to another place. And she's like, actually, I have an opportunity where I think I can actually move out. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you just moved in 90 days ago. And it was some family thing where they can move into like a family house and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, just like whatever, just get out. I'm like, fine. Get out by the end of the month. It's fine. It is what it is. Cause what did I do? The 11 includes that unit and then the other unit next to it. So the good news is that I actually now have a shot of renting out the other two units, or both units, not just having the one. That was a scary thing for us because you don't want to go into October with empty units. You don't. November, they don't rent. December, they don't rent. January, they don't rent. So everything that we're doing is to try and get these units rented. Some of them we adjusted price, were down. Some of them we added amenities. We rewrote all of the ads so it was fresh and new and different for every single one of the ads. So recognize that what you're going to go through times like this in your portfolio where you have to, renew things, redo things. It can't be the end of the world. It just has to be something, hey, I'm managing this and I'm trying to get it in order. That's absolutely an awesome thing. And that's what you try and work towards and work to get done. But this is the market that we're in. So what I would tell you is those are the facts. The rumors are that all commercial is, crashing. That's a rumor. I own commercial stuff too. It's not crashing. There's some stuff that you can get a great deal because people improperly levered it with debt, but it's by no means is all this stuff crashing. Construction hasn't stopped. My buddy who owns a big construction company is busier than he's ever been. In the last 2 years, he's doubled in size. So it's one of those things where the rumors are that everything commercial is dying and dead. It's not. That's not factually accurate. But some stuff is. Some stuff that people got over-levered into. Are we seeing some supply come on for small multifamily finally? Yeah, we're finally seeing some stuff on. Some stuff is crazily overpriced, but I just bought one. And guess what? It appraised for 10% more than I bought it for. So I got 10% equity like that. But more importantly, the thing that was keeping that appraisal down, was actually the rents. That was part of what was keeping it down. So the good news is that one of them is an owner occupy unit. The other one is a friend of theirs that they've let live there for 10 years and never raised their rent. 10 years and never raising your rent, that might be a little bit of an issue. So what's very, very interesting, right? What's very, very interesting as we look at this situation is we are now in the position where we're going to have a conversation with those folks. But when we close on that house, we only have a few weeks before the wintertime. So we will likely say to the bottom one, hey, listen, we'll binder method them. What's the very best that you can do? The upstairs will be leaving. We'll take the opportunity to redo that unit as quickly as we can. We already have crews standing by. I think we can rehab the unit the way that it needs to be rehabbed in about 10 days. And that means we can be on the market with a really nice, fresh, clean unit and get that thing rented toot sweet. So I'm excited for that opportunity. But all of these things, you look at all these things, and could it be something to be really scared of? Yeah, it could. Like, could we go to 20 unrented units? I mean, it's possible, but not probable. And again, we got to 11, but boom, I think we're already down to 8, and we have a huge weekend of prospects. So be encouraged, but it doesn't fix itself. That's why I teach the course. That's why I have the boot camp. Is these are the types of things that we handle in those boot camps to get you back active, engaged, and doing things differently than what you're doing today to try to get a different result. I would be nervous if I had to stay with exactly the same path that we were on. We've made some adjustments. We've gone from 11 down to the 8, I believe, and we'll have an update for you next week. The question is at next week, are we going to be at 11 and something fell apart on all these, or we're at 8, or we're even at 5? Like we get some more over the weekend, we get some stuff locked up. I'm hopeful for this weekend. I think this weekend's going to be a big weekend. So we're going to push hard. We're going to try and make that magic happen. But yeah, overall, still it is what it is. The nice thing is that again, when you have an aged portfolio and you manage it the way that we manage it, and you make conservative guesses and management of it with keeping reserves and understanding what your cash flow needs to be, you can even weather times like this, which might be a couple of months of, lousy rent roll. But getting positioned to make sure that the rest of the year is strong. What's really cool is even with the reduction of the rents that we're taking, the overall reduction was about $1,000 between those 4 units, maybe 850 between those 4 units, right around there. 850 is about a couple $100 a unit. However, the 7 units that were below market, that was $2,700 of increase. So I'm not going to lament the $800, $1,000 a month that's going to go down here. I'm thrilled that I got access to get to the other 2,700 over there. That's key. So what's my net? My net's an extra $1,700 a month when we weather this storm, when we figure it out, because it's a squall. It's not by any means a tsunami, but we'll weather it. We'll get through it. We'll get on the other side of it, and then we'll kind of see how things go. But as we're going through it, we're taking notes. We're watching what the market's doing, and then we're going to make sure that we put ourselves in the best position to remain successful. I hope that encourages you. I hope it helps you. We are going to be releasing dates for the next boot camp coming up in September that will go basically until about Thanksgiving time. But it's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable. There's a lot of opportunity for us. Again, you get a little pain, you get a little reduction, you get a little bit blowback like we've gotten some blowback, but we're going to make these adjustments and then we're going to kind of go from there. So let's get into some of your absolutely amazing questions. And we're going to roll actually super chats first. You guys know the rules. Section 8 tenant at premium rent, but we opted to take responsibility for the utilities. Yep, sure. They're using $200 to $300 a month more than usual, 50 to 100% premium. Yep, we agreed to cover utility costs, but any recourse to reduce these costs? Nope. That's why I hate taking on utilities for Section 8. There just aren't. The only thing that you can do is, so here's an example. If those utilities are, is it electric? Master Coach, ideas floated already. Inspect HVAC abuse, age of unit, install smart thermostat, electric inspection, check windows, appliances, second freezer. Yeah. So what I would do is, the first thing that I would do is I would absolutely have lockable thermostats. If you're the one paying for that, then they don't get to run the thermostat at whatever they want to run it at. Now you can't be unreasonable, but they can't have the thing on 65 degrees all the time. Can't do that. Second thing I would do when it comes to HVAC is make sure your filters are clear and take care of that. Installing the smart thermostat for sure. Check windows. So I would do an energy audit, and this is what happens when you pay for Section 8 utilities. They are the biggest abusers, and I don't give a rip if anybody thinks that I'm unfair and I treat Section 8 differently. Shut up. They're numbers. They're facts. If you don't like them, go watch some other guy who's going to pander to you, because that ain't me. Let's see. Just wait and hand the utilities over to the tenant after the lease is up. Yeah, they won't. I mean, so you can talk to housing and you can just say, I'd like to understand if there's something that can be done here, because here's what the utilities always had been in the past, and now they are 2x or 3x. You can ask housing if there's anything that you can do. Usually there isn't, but it's at least worth an ask. But I would absolutely be taking a look for sure at filters. I would absolutely be putting in smart thermostats. The other thing too is like water sewer. Like if you have an outside faucet, are they washing their cars a bunch more? Right? Are they running a slip and slide? Are they running, are they filling up kiddie pools? These are all the things that you can look at to try and clamp down on these kinds of costs. But yeah, that's one of the things that we said. Sadly, that's one of the things that we see. So Master, let's see. Can you put in utilities tenant? Nope. You can't do that when you're already under a lease with a tenant. Can't do that. HOA price, we took responsibility in the lease, 12-month commitment. Yep, that's true. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Let's roll through quickly. Brett, good to see you. What's up, Chester? Always good to see you, my friend. A-Rod, R-E-I. I like that. Is that A-Rod from Alex Rodriguez or a different A-Rod? Jason Calasabetta, good to see you, sir. BuzzTune, always a pleasure. HOA Prez in Silicon Valley, we are starting to have layoffs. Yes, sir. As predicted, right? I'm honest. I'm just honest as the day is long. Yep, I predicted you're going to see a lot of layoffs, and we've only just begun. It is a Karen Carpenter song. You have only just begun. Rental demand absolutely has dropped, and it will continue to plummet, and people will finally look at it and take the opportunity to likely move on. Let's see. Give me 1 second. But yeah, HOA Prez, fully expect that. I know that you've been out there for a long time. I was out there for a long time during the dot-com bomb. I worked for tech companies. I saw what happened then, saw what the housing crisis did. It almost always builds back better until it doesn't. And right now, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, it's just honestly, it's one of the worst places to be in the country. It's an absolute toilet with homelessness. It's getting there with unemployment and joblessness. And AI is going to hasten that white collar big time. It's going to be big time. I did AI and RPA for 17 years. So you ain't seen nothing yet. A-Rod REI, tenant stepped on a nail. Under new electrical panels, dirt and rocks. Contractor replaced 3 months ago. They asked if we could go over it to make sure to check for more nails. How would you handle this from a liability perspective? Rocks. So what I would, like, really, dude, not you, them. But what I would do is they make a roofing magnet. You can actually rent them. You can rent them from Home Depot, and it's a big, huge, massive, thick metal magnet, and it's got 2 wheels on the edges. I would just roll through there and have it pick up anything. So it's going to pull up anything off the ground, and certainly from a first layer of rock. If you want to be extra protective, what I would do is I would actually just get a metal detector, which you can also rent. But rent a metal detector, go down there and sweep the entire basement. Anywhere you hear eat, eat, go there, grab the rock, grab the stone, and pull it back up. That's like, and at that point, people don't understand. If you're going to end up in court, that's going to be a winning story. It's going to be court storytelling. It's telling the truth, but it's telling the story of the occurrence. So somebody decided to sue us this week, an old tenant, and I'm going to bury them in court. I'm going to absolutely bury them because the fact that they sued us is a joke. I have her in email admitting that she did it, and she actually still had the balls to sue us. Unbelievable. Looking forward to it. You know who you are, you dummy. Oh, I can't wait to go for it. Oh my goodness, it just went from 67 to 52. I said something controversial. HOA Prez, if you have Section 8 tenants, then talk to the program administrators to see if any changes are coming. Yeah, I think you always want to do that. But changes are absolutely coming. Here's the thing. Those administrators, they have no clue. They don't know. FMR is what the big change is that's coming. That comes usually in September. It gets published, but that's right on HUD.gov. You'll see it get published, and then those are the rates that typically go into effect for January 1, usually not later. That's typically how it works. Not always, but typical. Robert Farinelli, hello. Matt, hello, sir. Ryan Husser, what's up, everyone? Good to see you, Ryan. Booger Fart Boy, good afternoon. Always good to see you, Booger Fart Boy. Andres Matos, Matt, are you seeing a lot of vacancies in your units? Yeah, I see a lot of vacancies everywhere in Metro Atlanta area where I invest. Yeah, we've seen much more inventory, but it's newer inventory came on, and now they're buying tenants. And so, yeah, I mean, so we're seeing some of that, but we've still not run one special. $99 move-in special, no first month's rent. We've run 0 specials to get people in. 0. Yeah. So honestly, that's something that I don't like doing. I've only done it maybe one time in the past We might look at that next week just to goose it, depending on how we do. If we go from 11 to 8 and then we get 3 more over the weekend, I feel pretty good that we're in pretty good shape, going into, still the second half of August, being able to get stuff rented for September and for October. So at that point, if we're at 5, like that's only a couple of more than we're used to having. And again, we had a couple of unique situations where we let people out of their leases because we didn't want to deal with them. So that's what we have to kind of look at. Robert Fairnelly, $99 move-in specials when the evictions are done. They will be trying to fill units in November, December. Ouch. Yeah, Robert, you're exactly right, man. And will it be that fast? Will it be November, December? Will it be January, February? Not really sure, but yeah, when you basically buy revenue, when you buy tenants and you lower your standards, you're going to have much higher turnover. That's why, a lot of times that's why slumlords see high turnover. They do evictions. It is not a game for the faint of heart. We like to run a clean business, where I think this year, we've done 2 evictions. Do we do 2? We went to court twice and we did a workout on both of them. So we've effectively had 0 evictions this year. We went to court, worked out we did 2 workouts and both of them are paying, which is freaking awesome. I love it when that happens. I love when we reach a level of success. HOA Press, we have a lot of new luxury rentals coming online with rent starting at $3,000 a month and no one is renting them. Yeah, we saw the same thing here, which was kind of interesting. We've seen some new condos hit, and condos here, 2-bedroom condos selling for $450,000. So the rents would be about $3,000, a little over $3,000 a month with condo fee and tax and insurance and interest and principal. I don't know that anybody's, so I think they're bringing them to market in waves, like 10 at a time. And so they've had 10 on the market for maybe 3 weeks. And I think they have 5 or 6 of them out of the 10 under. That's not good. Like those used to be gone and then next wave and then gone and then next wave. And I mean, you're 3 weeks in and you've still got 4 that are vacant. Maybe those are bad floor plans. Maybe they're a bad floor. Don't really know. All fire up. Hello, all. Hello, all fire up. Robert Finelli, I'm set lease wise until May. That's awesome. It's a great feeling, right? It's a great feeling to know, hey, we're good. We just need to maintain. We just need to maintain over the coming months. It's a beautiful thing. Chanel, hope prices come down. So I think certainly in some markets, prices will certainly come down. I think we're already seeing some prices come down. So I think rents in some cases have come down. Property values or property prices have certainly come down, because what you're seeing the people that are staunch on getting a certain price for their house and not sell. And then we've seen some others where they were like, yeah, sure. Like it's not, going over ask. Now that said, Chanel, keep in mind, I actually sold a property that I listed for $339 that sold for $360. I didn't do anything. I was just buying in the right market, knowing what I was buying and buying what's called a median minus home. So I agree with you. I hope prices come down. The problem that you have with prices coming down is that there's a lot more institutions and a lot more big dogs on the sidelines with a lot of dry powder. There's a lot of dry powder out there. So it's just one of those things to consider, is that even when they come down, you're likely still going to be behind, because then somebody just goes, yep, that's a good enough asset, creates enough income. I'm just going to buy it myself. All-nighter hider. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. I love the post, the picture on Facebook that you posted with Fat Lumberjack in the background. Loved that. Thank you much, my friend. I'm glad to see you home. Christopher Ramsey, que paso, homies? Hey, Christopher Ramsey, good to see you, sir. Joe Aiello, how are you, pal? Hello, Matt. Hope you and family are well. We are doing great. I placed an offer on a home I really wanted. Seller came down and I went up. Lost the deal on $5,000 due to not pulling the trigger when I had a chance. Oof, that's tough, Joe. $5,000. $5,000, buddy. Oof, that's tough. That's tough. But I get it. I get it. You got to be disciplined. I get it. Wayne Wong, hello all. Hey, Wayne. Joe, I'll hit your next comment just to keep a synergy there. House hit the market, gone within a week. Guess I should have wrote the low offer and mentioned as for $5,000. Hey, listen, hindsight's 2020. That's sometimes the way the world works. There's another great one out there for you, Joe. I'm confident in that. But I get it. But guess what happens? Guys like you then pay up for the next one and you get something that you fall in love with. So that's a good thing. I wish that for you, my friend. HOA Press, the Silicon Valley tech market crash, unless You are a legitimate AI guru with multiple offers of $500K a year, but those people are few in numbers. HOA Prez, 100% agree. I appreciate. So for those of you who don't know, HOA Prez has been coming to the show for a couple of years. We've always kind of been at loggerheads because he is in the Silicon Valley. He's an HOA, was an HOA Prez, definitely understands that market fluently. I worked in tech for 26 years. Most of the companies that I worked for were headquartered out of the Silicon Valley. And it was one of those things where I saw exactly what that market was made up of. When you look at, Gavin Newsom and 26 years or 20 plus years of bad decisions, when you look at Nancy Pelosi and all those bad decisions that they've made policy wise for the area, not fixing the homelessness problem, watching it grow. I've talked to a lot of friends that, and this is an attack against them. This is factually what they did. But I've talked to a lot of friends that gave up Warriors tickets. They were huge Warrior fans, used to go to the games all the time. They gave them up. I had a ton of friends that worked in tech, and you know what they finally did? They just go, hey, ever since COVID, we can kind of do the remote thing. And I fly all the time anyway. I'll just fly into the office twice a month and be there for a few days. And then the rest of the time I'm on the road anyway. So there's a lot of people that became very mobile based on what happened in COVID. And when you look at the high prices of the Valley, Silicon Valley specifically, when you look at the high prices there, people are going to look for alternatives. So the HOA Prez's idea, yeah, the AI guys are getting rich because that is the way of the future. However, there's a lot of white collar getting wiped out by AI, i.e., IBM. IBM got wiped out. HR there, I think, is 800 people. They replaced a majority of them with AI. You're going to see that a lot more. If I'm an HR professional, look at what you do for HR. You are very replaceable in 90% of the HR roles. You are. And there's so many services that they can outsource the very small pieces to. So that might become a cottage industry. However, there's not going to be near the demand. It's 1 in 10 people are going to get that job, not 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. You heard it here first. I've been through a lot of tech. I went through the .com bomb. I went through the great financial crisis. I was in management for 13 years, 14 years. I was in executive management. So I see how the layoff lists get made. I see what the CEOs talk about. I was second in command in 2 of the companies that I was in. So I know exactly how it's done. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a rough road for white collars. Going to be a rough road. Christopher Ramsey, HOA Prez, absolutely the perk will run out. That's very true. Kyle Dorn, yep, been taking applications the last 2 weeks. On one of the newest Taylor got done, 95% have been junk apps. So guys, this is what we talked about before. If we look back years ago, 70% of the applications that you would get were kind of junk, just complete junk. And then, you look at it and you're like, 70% are complete junk. And then, the next 20%, so 70 to 90, the next 20%, they're good. They're serviceable tenants. And then you get 10% that's like an elite, amazing tenant. You're like, yeah, I can't believe I got this tenant. They're a multi-year tenant. They make plenty of money. They're never going to call me. It's going to be awesome. They're only going to call me in emergencies. And that's what I told you shifted. What shifted in the last year is that we've continued to compress the amount of quality tenants. So like Kyle says, 95% are garbage. He's right. 95% of garbage. We're in that arena right now. I'd say we're between 90 and 95% of these tenants that are looking for place are complete hot mess garbage. I've seen more 300 and 400 credit scores in the last 9 months than I've seen in my entire previous landlord career. That's how bad people's credits are. That's how dumb they are with money. Just saying. And don't tell me that somebody with a 400 and something credit score or 300 credit score isn't dumb with money. That means you owe every single person, unless you were a victim of identity theft, you're bad with money. Even if you lost your job, there's still some bills that you still pay. They just are. Look at the big lumpy chair stuff with $100 bills. Yeah, it's not stuff with $100 bills, but it is lumpy. Robert Finelli, credit scores are in the tank because there's a lot of YouTube videos of people who think if you stop paying your credit cards, Klarna, yep, nothing will happen, that credit scores don't matter. So here's my take. I am not a stock guy. Do not listen to me. This is just my own personal take. I believe that the SoFis, the Klarnas, and the Affirms are going to absolutely get the bag beat out of them in the next 12 to 24 months. That's what I think is going to happen. Not a stock guy, not the brightest bulb on the strand. This is just a gut feel. And so don't do anything with it. But that's my own gut feel. I've not invested in that way yet, but I can tell you, you guys know when I told you when I bought Palantir at $8.86. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. It makes Bitcoin look like a bad investment. Look it up. Master Coach, we're getting lots of credit scores around 500 right now. And evictions, bad backgrounds. Dead on, right? Jasic, how are you? Good to see you, Jasic. HOA price. San Jose is building tent parks as the fact of the matter. And is that people are choosing homelessness because they can't afford to rent. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. They can't afford to rent. But, again, this is the challenge, right? When you've got a secretary or somebody like that making $70,000 there, how could a single person afford that? Like, you have to have roommates. The crazy thing is they're more than happy to run to the door to be homeless instead of looking for a roommate situation. Hey, let's get a 2-bedroom. Let's get bunk beds in each of the bedrooms. I know I have 3 friends and we're all struggling, right? If everybody's struggling, right? And it's like, and rent might be $3,000 a month, like you were talking about. And guess what you do? Now it's $750 a month. Now you can actually afford to live. But everybody goes to, I'm going to live in a 10 city because that's just easier. Dude, really? You're going to run to a 10 city because that's a better idea. Woo, woo, woo. Don't love that. Don't love that. Kyle Dorn, I have a tenant that I was warned about last year while placing that desperately needs a boyfriend. Boyfriend? Biggest pain in the ass. Yep. It's like I know someone that knows the future. So we talk, Kyle, guys, you know me. I'm honest with you and I appreciate you being honest with me. This is a conversation that Kyle and I had about this tenant. I said, she is going to be an anchor. Boom. Anchor. There's a certain type. I'm not going to cover it here on YouTube. You can hear about that stuff in the boot camp because that's the stuff that we speak openly about and share openly about. I tell you all the type of situations to avoid. Yep. I tell you all the situations to avoid because they will bite you in the ass and they will become a full-time job. All right. HOA price. You have been pre-evicted as we are denying your rental application as we know that you will have we will have to evict you in your first month of tenancy. Yeah, no kidding, right? It's crazy. Kyle Dorn, someone asked on school about if there is a thermostat controller that restricts tenant from abusing, overworking the system, set at 90 in winter and 60 in summer. Yes, there is. You can actually, so you can go, everyone's like, oh, I'm going to use a Nest. Nope. You can use those, but they're like 200 and something bucks a piece. You can also take a normal $15 thermostat and you can limit it. You can say, here's the range that this thing's allowed to perform in. It's allowed to perform as heat, as warm as 70, and cool, as cold as 68. That's your range. Pick one. No joke. You can limit these thermostats. They're out there. Ask your plumber, ask an electrician. They can absolutely limit those things to what they can go to. And you can, and that thermostat is like $30 or $40. What I don't like is if I have a Nest thermostat and I kind of feel like that's a little bit intrusive, but I like to put a mechanical thermostat in there that just says, if I'm paying for it, you deserve to be comfortable, but not that comfortable. You don't deserve to be you can't walk around in a t-shirt and underwear all summer long or all winter long, while you've got the heat blasted to 78. F you. Yep. Flavio. Hey, Flavio. Good to see you, pal. Let's see. Oh, I saw another super chat. Let me just scroll down and I'll reach back now that I can keep track of where that one was. Okay. Master Coach. All right, here we go, buddy. We're getting lots of tenants. Here we go. We're getting lots of tenants leaving and skipping out on last month's rent. Yep. Any tricks to improve outcomes there? They don't care about eviction at that point because they're leaving, right? Nope. You can still put it on their record. You can absolutely still put it on the record. The other thing that you can do is you can bring them to court and sue them. Yep. So what you can do is, so they leave, they don't pay last month's rent. I would have in my lease, I don't know if it's legal in your state, but in my state, it's actually legal to put in there and say, you can never use your security deposit towards your last month's or towards any portion of rent. It says it right in my lease. That way, when I go to court, I go, it says it right here. And that's what they did. So they're in violation of their lease. And so I get to recover all that money. It's open and shut in court. If they still decide to do it, well, it's open and shut in court. It's easy for me. But if it creates this cash pinch, then what you can do is you can say, listen, we can do this along the easy way or the hard way. You actually still owe the rent. You're incurring late fees every day that I don't receive it. And just so you know, that's what because you can still charge late fees if they didn't pay that rent the last month. So I tell them, I said, your late fees are going to end up being like $350. It's going to cost you that plus the cost because I will come and I will sue you. That's your option. Then you actually have to follow through. And it does take time and it does take energy, but a lot of times you'll get people to respond. Again, I've done more workouts this year, successful workouts, than I've ever done in history. I've never done 2 successful workouts in a year, ever. So I'm thrilled. Thank God. Thank God. Yeah, thank God. I'm a tax accountant and my job may go away. It's very true. It's possible, Chanel. And I don't wish that for you, just so you know. Microsoft is laying people off. Oh, absolutely. Microsoft is going to lay a ton more people off too. You got to understand, AI doesn't replace 20% of your employees in a department. It replaces 80%. That's how it works. And then they have people that take care of AI, manage the AI. That's what's going to happen. You're going to see, do not be shocked. And there's nothing that the administration is going to be able to do about it. There's nothing anybody's going to be able to do about it. Unemployment is going over 5%. It just is. And you heard it here first. I've been telling you guys this. I told you 2024 into 25, you are going to start to see AI grab a hold and start to give companies the ability to lay people off. IBM, 800 and something people. Now, here's what's going to happen though. That means that their earnings become that much better. It increases the share price or the share value, or the value of the company. And so that's what then propels the stock market up. That's where Main Street and Wall Street are going to get disconnected. They're going to get disconnected because companies are going to be super profitable, going to be making that much more money, but at the risk of what? At the risk of a bunch of people being out of work. Now, what are those people's skills? They better have some. They better have some. You know, for me, I was a sales guy. But there's a lot of other things that I can do. I can do small business consulting. I know how to run small businesses. You know, I can do property management consulting. You know, there's all sorts of areas that I can help people out, you know, and a bunch of different revenue streams. You know, no one starts off with 10 revenue streams, but when you become a lead at something, you start to create other revenue streams. All right, let's see. Let me roll. What's up, Kyle? Jeremy, replay crew. Good to see you, Jeremy. Chanel, great podcast. Chanel, thanks. Welcome to the channel. Love to have you here. Come hang out with us. Listen, I just share it the way it is because I love my tenants. There's some I don't like, but I love my tenants. This all works together. I love it when they buy a house. I know that I'm important because they need to rent from me because they can't make a $400,000 purchase. So I provide a service to them and they allow me to provide that service. And, you know, then everybody is happy. HOA price, San Jose, big homeless encampment cleanup in 2 weeks to beautify San Francisco for the World Cup and Super Bowl. This should prove interesting. Yeah, it's amazing, right? Like they're going to make that cleanup, but dude, it's going to be a shithole again by Super Bowl time. We're talking about February. MH, hello, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Hyder. Question. Why would a tenant decide to step on a nail? I'm kidding. I know. Yeah, exactly. MH, hello, sir. I bought my first rental not long ago, around 50% profit after expenses. Love that. Not in the US. Very good. I listened to several of your videos while looking for properties. You make great content. MH, thank you very much for saying that. MH, you're the man. Appreciate that. Really do. Gonna give you a highlight. Thank you, pal. Appreciate that. Out of time 24/7. What would you say is a realistic vacancy percentage? Out of time 24/7. I love the question. There is no realistic one. And the reason I say that is this. In my market, it's 1 or 2%, but that's what they're accounting for the whole state. There's parts of our state that are higher than 1%. They're 3, they're 4. There's parts of our state where you cannot find an apartment. It still hits and there's 75 people on it. Then there's like Roberts Market where there's 800 2-bedrooms. 800. Oh, they're going to have some trouble filling those things. So what you have to do is you start at, right? What you start at is you try and figure it out yourself. And here's how you figure. Here's a quick back and napkin way to figure it out. What you do is you look at the top 2 places that are that rentals get done in your market. Usually it's Zillow and Facebook Marketplace. What you do is you just search on the town, Parsippany Apartments. And you look and you see, and they go, yeah, there's 719 results. Cool. But then what you need to do is you need to know, hey, how many apartments are there in Parsippany? And they say there's 17,000. Well, you're like, okay, so all right, that's 4% vacancy. When you get that core number, and every town has an understanding of how many apartments they have. When you get that core number from the town, man, I am dropping freaking fire right now. This is fire. Let's admit, like this is fire, guys, right? So everybody knows what that core number is. Let's say it's that 17,000. And then all you're doing is running a couple of searches. You're running that search on Facebook Marketplace, and you're running that search on Zillow, and you're trying to do a little bit of rough math, and you're saying, yeah, 700-800 or so there. Well, there's 17,000. All right. So we're, right now we're playing with about 4%. That's what I do. That's how I figure it out. Now, if you have a bigger city like a Parsippany, or if you have a bunch of smaller cities, I do that and I add that up for all the towns around. And then I add up all the number of units that are available and I figure it out for each town. It's not a lot of work. Excuse me. This is the smartest thing on this stage. Yep. Yeah. So that's how you figure out what a realistic vacancy is, because, they say 1% for my state. Well, I know there's areas that there's no units available. My area, there's definitely some units available. When I look at the number of units, here's the thing. They've brought so much supply on in my market in the last 4 years. The issue is that's going to start to slow down. Let's see what we got here. We had HOA Pres. We had a rapid rehousing program, which paid for 2,000 apartments in Santa Clara County, but that money has run out. Well, let the evictions begin, or they're going to have to ask the state for some money. That's going to be a little bit tough because Gavin's too busy buying a $9.1 million mansion, and spending money poorly, as he always does. I would love to see him run for president. Honest to God, like my shoe could beat that guy. Because the only state that would vote that guy in is probably Illinois, New York, and California. All the rest of them, they're just like, what are you joking? Look at the guy's track record. But that's just me. Nobody answering my ads when before ID gets over 20. ID. Get over 20 emails. Yeah, so out of time, did you take my course? One of the things that we talk about is how you write your ad, how you get it to the top, how people see your ad more than everybody else's. There's a science to it, and that's one of the things that you can ask Mike, you can ask Farinelli, you can ask a bunch of the people in the chat. That was one of the reasons that they bought the course. There was a lot of other beneficial stuff, but I teach you how to do it. But again, it's like literally over an hour I spend teaching people how to write the appropriate ad and then really drive traffic to it. There's a bunch of ways to do it. But yeah, we're seeing fewer. We certainly are seeing fewer. That's one of the things I track. I track inquiries. Okay. Last week on this unit, we had 13 inquiries, and then 3 people set up a showing and all 3 of them sucked, or 2 of them sucked. One of them was awesome, but the one that was awesome didn't want it. You never know. Let's see. Welcome. Yes. Thank you, Kyle Dorn. Yep. Chanel, thank you. Here in Olympia, Washington, prices are getting more real. Yes, Olympia. I actually know Olympia. Olympia is one of the most beautiful parts of the country. It is, there is a ton of just beautiful forest and sound there. It is truly one of the most beautiful places in the country. I would live there in a second if it weren't in the wrong state. Not your fault, but you know what I mean? Some of the policies there are just absolutely brutal. especially for landlords. HOA price. We have laid off H-1B people, that have been out of work for over 60 days. Their visas have expired. In the past, one could stay in the U.S. with an expired, but those days are gone. True, but those aren't the people at the top of the list for people trying to get rid of H-1B visa guys. Because just so you know, I actually have a couple of buildings. I have buildings that we rent out to H-1B visa folks. They are not getting laid off. They're still there, but it is absolutely one of the things that we are seeing for sure. But they really are just, and it's a political hot button, but I'll tell you exactly what I'm seeing. I'm seeing all of our H-1B guys. I'm seeing all of those guys completely fine. The only ones that have had any problem was ones that had previous busts. It's the only ones that have, that's what I've seen. Not saying that's the way across the board. I'm just saying that's what I've personally seen. You made that a great pick, Matt. Thanks, Hyder. I thought it was like, and then, fat lumberjack over your shoulder. Cedarland. Hopefully I said that right. If anyone here advocates for animal welfare and rescue, check out my efforts and spread the word. Okay. Rankin Projects. Hey, what's up, man? Been a while. Busy summer. Anyone do a tax auction? I've done tax auctions. Yep. Have one coming up with a property or two I might be interested in. Yes, I've done them. Yep, I've done them. They're pretty straightforward. They are. You just have to have enough, depending on what the rules are of the auction house. But yeah, I've done tax auctions before, sure. Chanel, these politicians are horribly corrupt. Yeah, so many are horribly corrupt. They just are. Both sides of the aisle. Tons of corruption. Yo, Grandma Cracker. I like it. Pittsburgh here. We're looking to buy after renting for 3 years. We don't want to go through the showings of our rental. That'll start in January, even though the lease isn't up until June. Not a fan of moving season. Totally get it. I understand. Yep, I understand exactly what you're saying. My political friends, HOA Press says, are convinced that Newsom is running for president on the platform. Let me do for America like I did for California. I totally agree with you. I think that's actually going to happen, and he's going to get obliterated. Chanel tax count. Yep, cool. My first time here. Are renters allowed? Oh, of course. We love renters here because what we want to do is we want to make sure. I believe in that open dialogue. I have open conversations with my tenants. Literally open conversation with them. I literally just had a conversation with one of them and I was just like, hey, the dog hair in the backyard is crazy. You got to get it fixed for us. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, no people, we've had 5 people look at the apartment next door in the last week and every single one of them said, this pet here is insane. I need you to clean it up for me. Help me out. Meanwhile, one of them reached back and was just like, hey, listen, I just got a brand new car and I really would like an outdoor water situation. And I was like, I mean, that's a little bit tough because you're just asking if I will spend $50 or $100 a month for you to wash your car. So I have real honest conversations with them. So yeah, renters are absolutely welcome. And we encourage your feedback. Robert Finley, Matt is right. I can attest. Almost all of our HR of IBM was replaced by Watson, IBM's version of AI. That's true. Watson was an amazing concept, still is, but it was an amazing concept. It was over 10 years ago. And they put that in a hospital because they wanted to try and help lower the cost of healthcare. But yeah, there you go. Heard it right from an IBMer. Oh, I said something. Apparently there's a lot of Gavin Newsom fans. Sorry guys. He's going to get tarred and feathered. Chanel, I'm concerned. Yeah, I would agree. Matt's Big Short. It's true. What do y'all typically do when renters abandon personal property? So we follow the law. 7 days is how long we have to, give them access to get it. We ask that they do get it. If they don't get it, we either have to throw it out and then send them a bill to throw it out for the labor and to get rid of it. And then if there's something worth selling there, we'll actually store up all the stuff that's worth selling there over the course of the year. It's almost nothing though. I mean, you look at the number of times that people leave things behind. We just had somebody else leave behind 45 garbage bags and 4 pieces of furniture. You're a dick. And they're going to get a nice big fat bill because my guys had to spend an entire day getting all of that stuff. And it was like 15 days out. We'd ask them to come pick it back up. They weren't ignoring us. They get 7 days per law in our state. They get 7 days and then they're out. And then we can toss it. That's typically what happens. Cedarland. Let's see. HOA price from reboot to construction boots. Laid off IT people are hanging out at Home Depot competing with illegals for work. Yeah, I mean, I think that so I haven't seen that yet here. But yeah, like we just hired a kid who's graduating with a degree in advanced applied physics. Dude, he's wicked smart. He's wicked smart. But you know what he wants to do? Learn the trades. So we're like, we'll train you. We'll train you. We'll get you going. Robert Farinelli. Oh yeah, I agree. These buy now, pay later services are going to be hammered. Yeah, I think so. HOA Prez. Hopefully your security deposit covers the tenant's last month rent. It does. The problem is there's always damage that they do, and then you have to eat that. So, and very often, if it's a Section 8 tenant, I can promise you it's more damage than what the deposit was if they were there for more than 2 years. They just hammer places. Absolutely hammer places. It's brutal. 406 Crusader, release the Epstein files. I agree. Release them. Palantir is evil, though. Yeah, I mean, they're no more evil than the rest of these massive tech conglomerates. They're all evil. You know, it's just like anything else, you know, with that's the name of the game is data, and that's what they do. But I'm pretty sure you can't prove that they're more evil than Microsoft or more evil than Google. Generally speaking, it's all what happens. Get a roommate. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think people should get a roommate. Totally agree. I think that's dead on. LA on fire again. Oh, is it really? Oh, those poor people. Like, they just deserve so much better of a government. They just do. Like, how you spend hundreds of millions of dollars building reservoirs and then don't fill them when you got the ocean right there. Like, it's a pump system, guys. You know, an idiot lumberjack that failed out of the ninth or flunked out or left out of the ninth grade can figure out that. Like, what's your problem? You know, you're supposedly educated. Not going well. Palantir is suspected of being employed for mass surveillance. BTC, although transparent, is all about freedom. The two are in direct odds, in my opinion. Yep. Palantir is an Israel ally creep. So CARP is, but yeah, I'm not going to get into politics here, but you know, the Israel-Palestine thing's been a thing for quite some time. I think there's creeps on both sides, honestly. HOA Prez, ER rooms in LA are almost empty. The theory is that illegal aliens are so scared to come out in public. I suspect that a minimum of 10%, but maybe up to 25% of LA residents are illegal aliens. Well, of course, that's how the state's always gone blue and they get taken care of in these sanctuary cities. Yeah, absolutely. Julie Anderson, how are you? Self-management is going very well. Thank you. I should have known it would be less work than a bad manager. I'm proud of you, Julie. Julie, to her credit, she decided I used to harangue her because she had a property manager. And I was like, you can do it. You're a smart lady. You're a hardworking lady. You can do this. She finally fired the douche and now she's crushing it. Good for you, Julie. I'm pumped for you. Congratulations. I love that. You're going on the screen for that. Schwabs, how are you going to sue for rent when the deposit covers the last month's rent? Well, that's not the law. It's not the law. Because when it doesn't cover last month's rent, it actually is supposed to be returned based on what it's minus any expenses. So if they lose last month's rent, but it's just because it was the deposit, well, then what happens with all the stuff that they did? Because I can tell you, there's always something. There's always something. And then it's a few $100. But if you don't like it, renegotiate the contract when you sign it. My contract says you can't. So if that's what you're going to do, then I'm going to sue you for it. And I'm going to get legal expenses because it says it right there on my lease. So if you don't like the contract, don't sign it. Kyle Doran, she's actually not bad. She keeps the house immaculate. They always do because they have free time. And she's bringing over new suitors. If she could cut the lawn, learn how to plunge a torpedo, you already have one of those, greedy guy. You already have a girl that does that. Damn it. Don't get greedy, Kyle. Renters get tired of getting ripped off RE security deposits. Schwabs, it's really super easy. They avail themselves of the same court process that landlords do. And if a landlord kept it, let's see what they kept it for. And if you don't like what they kept it for, then you go to court. That's the process. And I can promise you this, there are bad landlords out there that serially do what they can to keep security deposits. They also do something called application churn. That's another big term that they do out there. However, a majority of landlords lose when tenants leave. That's why the binder method was invented. That's why all of these processes are invented to try and keep tenants. That's why it's invented. So again, from that perspective, I can tell you, I have been on the bad side of it far more often with tenants than they've been on the bad side of it with me. Way it goes. Microsoft employees are my clients. Understood. Yep. Unemployment number is much more than 5%. Government cooks the books. Yeah, but it's not this government that cooks the books. Like, it's the government that cooks the books. Like, the numbers under Biden, you think were accurate? Like, Trump didn't just start cooking the books. I promise you, there's been an unemployment issue for quite some time. How they count it is kind of silly. It's the same thing with how they count rents. It's a silly thing. How they count rents is not how rents work at all. Kyle Dorn, can you elaborate more on specific thermostat controller? So no, you just buy a thermostat. There's a thermostat. There's the cheap thermostats out there, $15, $20 ones. You can call your HVAC company. You can say, it's my understanding that you can actually lock out temperatures above X and below X. It's actually doable. There's a company that started doing it, Chicago something or other. Tell them Lumberjack Landlord sent you. But they started doing it where you can actually tell them what you want the range to be. They charge you $50 for a $15 or $18 or $20 thermostat because they know how to do it, but it can be done and everyone can do it. And then just Google and look up the ones that you can do that to. Ta-da. Schwab slow clap. Hey there, Lumberjack. Hey, BF, what's going on? Good to see you, man. How's Vegas? Matt is right again. After years of being in a rut for a decade, IBM stock has had very good last few years. They will continue to crush. And think about that. I feel bad, of course, for the 800 people that are laid off. But the business, it's not their job to give people forever jobs. It's their jobs to create shareholder value, but also create profits that allow them to reinvest and create greater technology. So I get it. It sucks on both sides. I've been the guy firing people before, being the axe man. It sucks. It's a horrible job. I don't like doing it. But when companies go through hard times, and that was what IBM was going through, they were far more likely to get bought out, and then there would have been other mass layoffs then. And HR is almost always one of the companies and parts of the companies to go because there's redundancy in almost any acquirer. But again, it's not to say that it doesn't, you have to look at it more of a function of business, not that there was any vendetta against people. It's just the way it goes. All-nighter, Palantir to the moon. Yeah, I'm telling you, Palantir crushing it. Mathing is hard for some of us. Yeah, I understand. Not quite 750 vacancies total, 452 beds. Okay. Guess which bedroom count is worse to own while there are 16 4 beds. Interesting. Josh Burdick, we've gone from learn to code to learn to install a commode. Yes, sir. Well done, Josh Burdick. I think the other thing too is that the people that know AI and they understand how to do AI, there's pockets that will always be insulated. However, it's just like drug companies do with drugs. They go after the biggest diseases because there's the biggest opportunity for impact, multi-bajillion dollars, right? That's why everybody has the diabetic drug. That's why everybody has a GLP-1 drug. That's why they went after that, is because they knew if they can get people on their product, it was massive earnings for decades, right? But that's the thing that you can look at. Runners up are the 1 bed. So big trouble in low bedroom counts. Yeah, for sure. Now, here in Olympia, we have deer in backyards. Washington is liberal. Yes, Washington is very liberal. I would never live there. It's a beautiful part of the country, but I have deer in my backyard. So I abut 500 acres. So I have deer, I have bobcat, I have lynx, we have bunny rabbits, we have wild turkeys, we have hawks, we have eagles, and we have groundhogs. BF trying to keep politics out. Trump doesn't waste any money. 200 million all gold White House rehab when he's out of office 3.5 years. It won't be even completed at that time. BF, I got to enlighten you, brother. He paid for it. It's not taxpayer money, bro. Doesn't matter. BF, rest easy. It's his money. Doesn't care. He wanted to do it last time. Look it up. It's sourced. His money in donations. It's not a dime of taxpayer money. Just look it up. Because when I first heard it, I went apoplectic. I was like, what the fuck? This is not how you spend money, bro. This isn't how you do it. That pissed me off. So I went and I did a bunch of research. Not a dime of taxpayer money. Look it up. You'll feel better. Sid Alarn. Tell me how you say your name. Just subbed. I appreciate you. Yo, Graham Cracker. Thank you. You're welcome. HOA Prez. The Democrat politicians are betting on a Newsom for president and AOC for VP. Newsom is trying to repeal the Second Amendment. This should be a Republican blowout in 2028. We will see. Chanel. Gavin sucks. I agree. Settle Learn. I would offer a 50-gallon water tank with a 12-volt pump if tenants want outdoor water. They can fill the water up themselves. Yeah. The big thing is that they wouldn't know the first thing about when something breaks, and I just created something else I have to pay my guy to go over and fix when they nothing's working. It's not like the stuff that you hear from tenants, like some stuff is crazy. And again, it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to go to the car wash and spend a few bucks like everybody else. If you want to do your own car washes, good news. You can go to the car wash. Would you rent to someone with 3 dogs? No, yeah, of course. Absolutely, I would. 7 days, thank you. You're welcome, dude. It depends on state, Settlern. It depends on the state. New Hampshire's 7 days. Some states are 30. So it depends. Some states require that you take it out of the unit and you put it into storage and that you pay that first month's storage, but that you can then go back and sue for that storage. Check the state. That's what matters. I would rent to somebody with 3 dogs, depending on what the dogs are. The big thing for me and what I always pass on to any of my tenants is, hey, here's the good news. I'm saying yes, so long as the insurance company will cover it and we have a per pet fee, because dogs are abusive. Again, they can be pussycats, but they scratch walls, they eat things, they rip up carpet, all sorts of that stuff, right? When they get the zoomies at night, yes. Big dogs are not worth it. Been there, done that. Big dog can be worth it if it's the right property and the right price. Because we've actually had a Great Dane. Not us, but a tenant. We were fine with that. We said to them, hey, listen, we're not going to charge you any more of a deposit, but it's $100 more a month. They said, we understand. When they left, that dog was so big and so heavy, he scratched all the wood floors downstairs. We had to sand them and do them. We took it out of the deposit. It's $1,500. If that's what that tenant wants to do with a dog, that's fine. I don't know how long they were with us. Were they with us 2 years or 3? They were with us 2 or 3 years. So they paid $3,600, let's say, and they paid another $15 to have that dog. Hey, sorry. We don't mind. We don't mind. But in that particular case, they weren't mad at us. We've had other people who were like, that's excessive. Dude, your dog scratched up my floors, and that's not how I gave them to you. That's not normal wear and tear. So I had to fix them. I did fix them. Here was the bill for fixing them. I didn't upcharge the bill. Here's the bill I got. Here's the bill I paid. Now you owe me back. That's how it goes. That's what we did. Not wildfires. Arson. Agenda 2030. Oh, dear God. Really? Sunderland. One time, a tenant's dog literally clawed and chewed through my wall to get outside. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Seen it. Seen it happen. Had I not seen it happen, I wouldn't have believed you, but I've seen it happen. They literally ate through the gypsum. Dude, what is wrong? Like, I get it. Deposit is as reasonable as a background check. I totally agree with that. Yeah, I totally agree. Yo, Graham Cracker. Sorry, I love saying it that way. I'm in the city, Hilltop neighborhood of Pittsburgh. I've driven through Pittsburgh many times. I've seen many of the Hilltop neighborhoods, including Scranton as well. And we have deer in the yard. Yep. Very cool for this old Southerner to see them walking around the street in snow about 3 a.m. Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. I have young kids, so I have to watch the background, the backyard, but it's fenced. But the baby bobcats can get in. The little tiny ones, little tiny bobcats, they get in. They're so cute. They're amazing to watch. You know, we watch them outside, but they come right around right around spring and right around fall is when we typically see them. But what's actually cool, we have this 2 parts on our property where deer like to give birth. I've not gone in. I've not adjusted anything because we've on two occasions, I've seen the doe and watch them get, tongue bathed and then, kind of stumble like Bambi. It's awesome. It's amazing. Wealth rentals. Would telling a tenant by email to change AC filters every 3 months and they do it, equivalent to changing it yourself, i.e. in court if the AC burns anyhow. Yeah, I mean, you could ask them to do it. The only challenge is that, do you know how many times I've asked it, or they're like, oh, hey, it just, honestly, it's just one of those things that makes sense for you to do. Yeah, like you got to have a handyman. If you have a few units, just every 6 months, you don't need to do every 3 is excessive. Every 6 months, I would just have them go in and swap it and change it, and you pay them for an hour and a half of their time, and then the thing's going to run optimally. It's going to run cleaner. It's absolutely the best way to do it. Oh man, that bill must have been rough. Yeah. I challenged the landlord on keeping our deposit after we left the house in objectively better shape than we got it in. He relented before he went to court. That was in 1996, though. Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, that's where it's like you really got to be fair. That's why in 24 years, we've been actually sued 4 times. 24 years, 4 times. And you know what was consistent with all of them? It was always people in their 20s. Tough guys, think they're smarter than everybody. And then I bitch slap them in court because they're idiots, because they make all of these assertions and assumptions. And what you almost always find, it was almost always a roommate situation that one person was lying to another person and saying, oh yeah, I've talked to the landlord about that. No. Here's your portal where you rent your stuff. No record of it. Here's our 800 number. No record of a call. He's lying to you. That's not what happened. And so that happened in just the last one. And they were like, oh, and I go, yeah, you wasted your time today. And so then the guy on the phone was the one who was the liar. And he goes, I'm not sure we're going to take the deal. I go, don't. I'd love to go in front of the judge with you. I will rip you apart, and he will rip you apart after you waste his time, because the case is open and shut. It's easy. Let's go in front of the judge. Let's do it. And the other 2 roommates are looking at me. They're like this. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go right in front of the judge. I don't want to agree to this. Let's go. Let's do it. And they're like, no. No, we're good. We're good. We're good with where we are. Yeah, that's what I thought. But the idea here, and this is one of the things that we teach in the course, it's not to be a bully with your tenants, but when the tenant comes to bully, you have to have the information, you have to have it properly laid out so you can answer the attack. That's all. I didn't go and attack them and sue them. They sued me. And they sued me for $112. I'm glad you lost your $100 filing fee. You deserved it. You didn't do the right thing. I deducted $112 out of a $2,800 deposit because they forgot they didn't clean the kitchen when they left. They didn't clean the stove. They didn't clean the fridge. Do you think I made $112? I did not. I had to say to a cleaning company, hey, I need you to go in there and just clean the kitchen. The rest of the house is fine. They're like, well, we could make it better. Nope, it's good enough. It's move-in condition, but I need you to take care of the kitchen. So that was 3 cleaners for 1 hour is what they got charged for. And they took me to court over it. Okay, that's what we got to do here. I love bobcats. Where are you? I'm in New Hampshire. That's where lumberjacks live. And in Olympia. But I'm in New Hampshire. HOA price. Facebook, aka Farcebook, is placing a major bet on AI. The salary offers for the AI gurus rival major league sports stars. The downside is that 30% of the software engineers will be laid off. That's true. You're going to see that a lot more. I'm telling you. And the really good coders, they're going to turn into AI guys. Like, that's what always happens. Graham Cracker. Max Brooks, World War Z, warned us about what kind of skills would be important during and after the apocalypse. Yeah, for sure. BF, Matt, are any of your properties in HOAs? Hell no. 53, 0. Actually, that's a lie. 53. And I own it's a lie because it's a little bit of a tweak, because there are 8 units in the HOA for the building and I own 7 of them. So it does have an HOA. I do pay into the HOA, but I'm going to buy that last unit. I'm going to rip that HOA new when it's gone. Wealth of rentals, Australian cattle dog, a black lab, and a mutt puppy. Check with insurance. Yeah. Black labs are idiots. Cattle dogs are very, very protective in many cases because they're trying to herd, sheep. And a mutt puppy. Yeah, let me guess. An American Staffordshire. All landlords should crack up at that one. An American Staffordshire. Angel R, good to see you, my man. Billionaire in Charles McCune. Comp. Yeah. $30 car wash with $50 rent. Yeah. Honestly, here's a crazy thing. I would rather just not do it because you know how many times like they're going to not shut that off in the wintertime and it's going to break and freeze and it's going to be something I have to handle. Or they're going to leave it running one day or their kid's going to turn it on one day and then they're going to leave it on. And then it's going to go through, 4,000 gallons of water and I'm going to end up with a $500 water bill. Not worth it. Billionaire investor. Never make a businessman head of state as he will sell the state and declare himself bankrupt. Advice from India. Yeah, that's nice. I don't know about you, but I'll take a businessman running things all day long over some jerk off who's been in Washington for 30 years or 40 years. I'll take that every time. Yo, Graham Cracker. There's a groundhog in the yard across the street. As a renter, I understand the pet deposit and the monthly fee. It's better than the old days when no one accepted critters. Totally agree. Yeah. We were at the forefront of that. We allowed dogs. We allowed ferrets. We allowed all that stuff. Snakes and spiders. We allowed all that stuff because we wanted it to feel like home for folks. And that was one of the things that we knew that they would have a hard time doing was finding a place that allowed something like that. Angel R. I want to do an asphalt parking pad on my house hack. Do you have any tips? Should I wait for the economy to soften to get a better price? Yes, absolutely. Get 3 quotes, but also have it measured. If it's small, because it's just a pad, what you do is you ask, oh my goodness, the value. Guys, I'm crushing it here. I'm giving you gold. You ask them, hey, this is what I want. I want it right here. And here's the size of it. You can say, is that like a leftover amount? Like, is that a small enough amount where you can go do a big job and then come here and do that one like at the end of the day? And a lot of times, if they've got big enough trucks, they'll say, yeah, it's a pretty standard, pretty easy one. Then you do that. Yeah. Telling you, that works. I just had that done for a driveway. Instead of it being a $7,000 driveway like everybody quoted, it would end up being a $3,000 job because it was a bunch of leftover from another job that they'd done because they're not going to bring it back to they're not bringing it back to the asphalt yard. All-nighter. I saw several deer while visiting Simon Astoria. He is in a very nice spot for mornings. I agree. He's in a beautiful area. And for those of you who don't know where Astoria is or who Simon is the uneducated economist. My brother from another mother. It's been forever since I've caught him because holy cow, this summer's been insanity. I haven't done anything. And yeah, Chanel, Astoria, Oregon. Yes, ma'am. Oregon. Sorry. What are your thoughts on adding a Tesla charger? Nope. I have some good tenants asking me to add one for an extra $50 a month. It costs 1.4K to all in to install. Yes, I would do it. 2-year lease. Yes, I would do it. 2-year lease. And then by the time they leave, you have basically $0 into it and you have an added feature for your house. So yes, I would agree to it, but yes, I would do too. Cedarland, awesome stream, man. Let me know if you ever want to co-host. I'd love to drop and hop on a live. Cedarland, I will look you up, my man. I am more than happy to do a collab. So I would love that. We're doing a bunch of collabs, actually. That's a series that I want to talk to you guys about. I just realized it's 11:29. It's so much fun with you guys. Time flies when you're having fun. But what I will tell you is I am doing collabs with a bunch of other YouTubers, a ton of them, a ton. Just trying to help our community grow, give you new perspective, give you new ideas. And so I am getting ready to launch a series where I'm going to just bring a ton of other YouTubers on for you guys. Right now, the count is big. Won't even share with you the number. But yeah, we're doing that because we want to bring new ideas, new perspective, grow the community, people that you've never heard of before that I think are worth listening to because I've watched their stuff and it's good. But yeah, Cedarland, man, appreciate you all. Absolutely. Love that. Yo, Graham Cracker, that's the way. On a few platforms, it used to be Call Me Graham Cracker, shortened to Yo. Baby critters can be so cute. Adult coyotes, not so much. Amen to that. We know there's bear back there. And the coyotes, they don't usually break the forest line. So thankfully, we only get to see the cute stuff, and then we get to see the bobcats too, which is dangerous because we got young kids. But we saw a couple of and we actually have full-size woodpeckers, not the little woody woodpeckers, but the big ones like those. And the eagles are amazing and the hawks are amazing. Yeah. Angel R, I would bet your insurance company would have a problem with that. Check with them, but absolutely no for me. Yes, possibly. HOA pres. Yeah, you gotta, as far as, I was different though. Like where Angel is, there's a high density of, electric and hybrid vehicles. So I would look at it, but yeah. HOA pres. I lied and lost when I sued my landlord. So I decided to lie and run for public office and got elected. Yes. So true. Woeful rentals. Are these 20-year-old tenants roommates or like some partner or girlfriend? Is the later situation better? Let's see. One of them, the guys were in their mid-20s. They all had good jobs. What was interesting was they were paying about $3,200 a month rent. I think their combined income was like over $300,000. Just one guy in the group was a prick, and he needed to be taught a lesson. And I love lessons in court. I like going to court because if I'm going to go to court, I'm right. I've got the homework. I've done the homework. I've done the time. I've got the information. Again, 4 times in 24 years. You don't end up in court 4 times in 24 years with thousands of tenant years if you're trying to rip people off. We're good. We're honest. We're fair. And if you're just willing to, you know what, we will take the hit almost every single time. But if you try to get difficult, if you try and you want to go to court, then fine, we'll go to court. That's fine. We'll go. Not a problem. There's a link to his channel. Thank you. I've seen him. Yeah, Simon's awesome. Matt, when you write the HOA covenant, it can be near the best asset protection tool ever. An HOA lien is last in priority, but also has the last word so to type. So a superior lien. Very interesting. I like that. Interesting. Yeah. And that's what scares you. Honestly, that's what scares me about HOAs if I'm not in control of it. So the only reason that I bought into this was because I saw the end of the tunnel for being able. So here's what I did. I bought the first one, but I bought the first one having already talked to some of the other people, knowing that I could buy up and get to at least half. But what was cool was I did that deal. And then I got another one of the guys to run and go, yeah, I think it's just finally time to sell. Here's the cool thing. So he sells to me. Well, the first 5 I bought for under $500,000. Well, that building is worth about $2 million fully done. So it's worth that now. But I was like, I can bite this off piece by piece. I had been at, and then so I get another one of the units. And then this one just came available. And they were like, hey, we just wanted to let you know we're actually selling the building, but we wanted to inquire about the HOA board because we know that we need approval from that. And I'm like, actually, yeah, you do. So I talked to the agent. I go, hey, not to be difficult, but I am the HOA board. I am. And there's been a lot of things that they've ignored from a maintenance perspective that I've wanted to get done. I think those things should get done before they're able to sell. And then we were able to get a deal done. Amazing how that happened. Chanel, I want to learn how to remodel kitchens. Do you have any advice for me? Never done it. Yep. I've done it 100 times. It's also in my course a lot. Centerland, thanks, man. I'm just a small YouTuber on the climb. Dude, small as what? 1,000? 1,500? I just had a call today with a guy who was 1,200 subs. Doesn't matter. I want to help you guys. Do you plan on keep buying despite higher vacancy? Yep. Yeah, I got 3 deals closing. Yeah, I absolutely do. I have a deal that did that close yet? No, the sale closed. Sale closed last week. I got to bring you guys those numbers. The sale on the flip house closed $360. After expenses, $339. Gotta love it, Tater. And then doing a 1031 exchange into 2 more properties. One of them is commercial. One of them is mixed use, and then got a duplex closing. That all closes this month. So on the 16th, the 21st, and I think the 31st, those are all dates within a day or two of where they're actually happening. Andres Metos, I have some mold damage to my unit and had insurance cover the fix after paying deductible. Do you know if insurance premium will go up significantly? Yes, it will. It was a $5,000 job. Deductible is $2,500. I never would have done that job with insurance. Nope. Never would have done that job with insurance. It's next time, Andres. So I carry a $20,000 deductible because I'll find somebody to do the work. And I guarantee if they bill insurance, it's going to be 20,000 bucks. If they bill a normal person, it'll probably be 10 or 12,000 bucks. People charge insurance companies a lot more money. They just do. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but it's what they do. So yeah, Angel R, yes, I will continue to buy. What if a tenant show you some certificate of their dog as an ESA emotional support animal? Depending on the state, you have to take it. Some states make you take it. Other states don't. Our state makes you take it if they get an ESA. All-Nighter Hider, the link shared is to Ace of Coins. John J. Singleton is my legal mentor and talks about the power of HOA covenant. This is my share and not a lumberjack landlord endorsement. Thanks, buddy. I don't mind you putting stuff in there. If you found it valuable, I'm sure others will too. Congratulations on the closing. Thank you so much, Wealthful Rentals. It's still fun to close. What was really funny was I was in Chicago when the property closed. I signed the paperwork 2 days before. But now it's their property. Money's sitting in the 1031 exchange account. I got 3 closings coming up at the end of this month. And yeah, I don't like where vacancies are, but you know, we've lived through it before. And if I got to live at 10 vacancies, I don't think I will, but if I got to live at 10 vacancies, okay. Like that's what the market is. So then what do? We find other areas to clean it up. You know, there's always the ability to fine tune your business. And, we're, you know, like I said, we're down 850 or so on rents. So we're down 850 or so on rents, but being down that 850 or so on rents, we're getting 2,700 more on the new units that are bringing to market. Like I got a 3-bedroom that this guy rented out because it was a long-term tenant. I didn't raise his rent. A 3-bedroom he was renting for $1,200 a month. And in our market, that's a $2,200 a month unit all day long. 22 all day. So that one's going to go up 1,000. There was another unit that was $950 a month. I thought it was a 1-bedroom. When I asked him, he said it was a 1-bedroom. I never went into that unit because my daughter had cancer and we were in quarantine for a year. When we got out, we had to live a bunch of life and, you know, celebrate her still being alive. And so I never went into the unit. The guy never called with a maintenance problem until finally he tried to move in a double murderer. I know, not joking, real story. Tried to move in a double murderer. I denied it. And then 6 months, actually 3 months later, he's gone. My guy goes into the unit. He goes, "Hey, how's it going?" I go, "Good. What's up?" And he goes, "So this is a 1-bedroom unit?" I go, "Yeah, 1-bedroom unit." He goes, "Yeah, that's what you said." I go, "Yeah, 1-bedroom unit." He goes, "No, it's not." I go, "What is it?" He goes, "It's a 4-bed." I said, "Shut up. It's not a 4-bedroom." He goes, "Yeah, it is. It's a 4-bedroom." I was like, "Get out of town." He goes, "Yep, 4-bedroom." I was like, what a bunch of bullshit. So it's a 4-bedroom. So he was paying $950 a 4-bedroom. We have a 4-bedroom in that house. It's upstairs. But this one, so I thought the upstairs was a 4-bedroom and the downstairs was a 2-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. Turns out it's not. It's a 2-bedroom, a 4-bedroom, and a 4-bedroom. Unbelievable. So 4-bedroom, $2,800. So he was paying $950. That's an additional $1,700 right there. Now we're not going to go for 28. We're probably going to go more for like 23, 24. But that's what we're talking about. This is how crazy it is. What's going on, Larry Bird? Good to see you. On the feed to DJ and DJ scores. If a tenant has an ESL animal, that's a red flag to me. Yeah. So the challenge is that you can red flag it all you want, but you can't do anything about it in most states. In most states, you have to take that ESA because they have that ESA. Wealth of Rentals. Would you rent to someone who likes your property because it's reasonably priced, but they want to drive 45 minutes to their job? Not going to lie, tired of driving one day and leave the property? No, there's plenty. Like the average daily commute for a person is like 40 minutes. They probably have a really good job. They don't mind the commute. They might get tired of it after a couple of years, but I drove 82 miles each way every single day for 8 years. And it's because I loved where I lived, but I had an amazing job that paid me a fortune. So I wasn't going to leave that. Chanel says, Angel are here in Washington. Anyone can get paperwork to get their dog to move in. You can go online. You can find it. It's easy. I live in a no dog building, but most have dogs. So annoying. Yep, that's exactly right. See, what I don't like about that is that it infringes upon the rights of the others that moved into the building because it was a no dog or a no smoking building. And that's the problem that I have. I can appreciate that they have emotional damage, and I can appreciate that they need a pet. I understand. But that means that you don't get to just live everywhere you want, because your needs don't trump my needs. And I'm paying rent just like you're paying rent. So if you need a puppy to feel puppy, that's fine. You just can't do it in this building. And that's where I think it's unfair. So that's my take. Deferred maintenance. 2 miles down the road can be 45 minutes in Pittsburgh. Yeah, true story. Same thing in Boston. Same thing in Boston. There's a lot of people that live downtown that then walk or they take the T. Yep, same thing. Bless you. Thanks, Grandpa. BuzzTune, thoughts on credit union relationship manager. Works with 110 credit unions, but said out-of-state investor need LLC, called 8 credit unions, not getting response. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, credit unions do not like helping investors because their charter for almost all of these is that they are there for their members. They're there for their members. So what you need to do is you need to call high. You need to call the specifically, you want to call the senior lender, and the conversation that you want to have is like the video that was on my channel where I showed you how to build a bank product. That's the conversation that you want to have. You know, there are plenty of credit unions that want to help their members, but they have more deposits coming in, which is what everybody wants, right? Banks want deposits because you can lend out 90% of that. The challenge with them is that they're there for their members. Well, most of their members are not investors and not big people. And so what do they end up doing? They end up having a bunch of money sitting in their banks. So they're super well capitalized. However, they're not making a ton of money on that money because it's just sitting there. So the idea is when they start lending it out, they get return, but they want to do those types of mortgages for their people, not necessarily for business. But if you talk to the senior lender, he might say, yeah, we're trying to do more commercial because we need to put more money on the street. We just need to be less risky. So we'll still charge you a fair premium. However, we're going to be more narrow in what we're going to approve, but you need to talk to the senior lender and nobody else. Angel R, happy to see you doing vids again. Enjoy your evening, sir. Thanks again. Angel R, you're very welcome, my man. Chanel, my neighbor is a horrible woman with a stupid dog that barks all day. Sounds right. Sounds right. Well, the rentals, I heard you can ask for a local certificate instead of the online one. You can. The issue is that most states honor the online one. So then they don't have to, which really sucks. Richard Cotter, have you come across a sovereign citizen? I had one that paid normal for 3 months, then pulled the fake trust document move when they were behind in rent. I have never had a sovereign citizen before. No, that's very interesting. Tommy Robinson, thoughts on transferring a mortgage to a line of credit? It really depends on a lot of the scenarios. Like generally speaking, I certainly know what you're talking about, but there are so many different machinations of that. And then also with where your strategy is, like what you're trying to accomplish. All-nighter. Chanel, I recommend contacting her directly, maybe by mail, civilly asking her to mitigate the barking, then use a mediator if needed, then file a claim in small claims court if needed in that order. So Hyder's exactly right. If you want to go and use a 5-pound sledgehammer or 10-pound sledgehammer on a fly, again, it depends on how big that fly is to you. So Hyder's 100% correct. That is the path to follow. And then you can actually get her evicted for her taking the there's always a statute that talks about joy and pleasure or pleasure and enjoyment of your rental space or of where you live. And that dog is obviously going to easily be in violation of that. It's just almost never will people spend the money to get that done, but it can absolutely be done. Guys, 11:44, we have an extra 15 minutes today. Love you guys. Love being a part of your journey. Super proud of you. Happy to be a part of your journey. Sovereign citizen is an oxymoron. A sovereign has no higher power, while a citizen is subject to a higher power. That's a dichotomy. That is a dichotomy. Richard Cutter, I actually sympathize with people that have those inclinations. But yeah, you would think that they have sense that it wouldn't fly if they are a tenant. Yeah, I mean, for me, I would just take that document and because I don't know how that affects. I'm sure it differs per state. In my state, I don't think that gets you anywhere. I think it gets you one big whack across the head with a dope slap, a Homer Simpson dope slap. But I love being part of your journey, guys. I love it. Proud of you. I'm excited for you. Always love spending these times with you. I missed last week. I was exhausted last week. I was exhausted. Look forward to, we're going to open up another chapter. We're going to open up another chapter. I'll talk about it more next week when everything is more set up. But we're doing a couple things. One is we're doing a ton of work with other YouTubers. We want them. I watch a bunch of their videos, just so you know, I watch a bunch of their videos to make sure that I'm not hearing any really bad advice. I can hear different advice, but I can't hear stuff where I'm like, nope, that's dangerous. True. So appreciate you. Look forward to it. Yeah, Chanel, go check out Simon's channel. He's absolutely fantastic. I appreciate you guys. Love being part of your journey. You guys are doing great, hard work. Don't be afraid. Stare into it. Stare into the storm. Go through it, because it's the only way to get to the other side faster. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. I will see you guys in, where's my buddy Dion? Oh, you know what he's probably doing? Working, because he's not lazy anymore. Check out my good buddy Dion's book. It's absolutely fantastic. I haven't read all of it yet. In fact, I haven't read very much of it yet, but we've talked about the syllabus and kind of stuff he covers. Absolutely spectacular. Love that man. So super psyched for him. But check out his book, Dion McNeely. It is one of the Amazon bestsellers right now. Go get it. If one of the moderators, if one of you guys can go throw the link to that from Amazon, if you guys could throw that link in the chat, I would greatly appreciate it, just because we want to get our boy. More people need that manual on how to, and to make fun of him, because he is definitely less lazy than me. So I hope you guys are doing great. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody. Hey, Chanel, guys, all the new folks, Sutherland, all the old folks too that came and hung out. Guys, I love doing this with you. So I'll see you guys next week. Hope you have a great one, and take care, everybody. See you in the next one.